it's honestly been my opinion that no other opinion but yours matters at the end of the day. It's whatever you think they think of you or whatever you think of them, that doesn't matter. If you are happy with who you are and what you're doing, then that's it. That's happiness right there. And if you are not happy with that, then you need to work to change it because no one else can do that for you.
What's up, everybody? This is your friendly neighborhood Johnny Boy, and you are listening to the Rekt Chords Podcast, presented by Rekt Chords Magazine. This is the place to listen to punk and metal musicians from Vancouver and around the world. So if you're into that kind of thing, don't forget to slay that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and www.rektchords.com. That's www.rektchords.com. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to the debut episodes of the Rekt Chords Podcast. Today's guest is in one of the most globally successful bands to come out of Vancouver in recent memory. This heavy metal powerhouse blends elements of traditional heavy metal, power metal, and melodic death metal and has toured all around the world. They are signed to one of today's biggest metal music record labels, Napalm Records, and their new album Abyss drops on August 21st, 2020. The band will be doing an album release live stream on August 22nd, and you can get tickets for that from ticketspice.com. She is the singer of Unleash the Archers. This is Brittney Slays on the Rekt Chords Podcast.
I'm doing well, thanks. How about you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Thank you for being on the show. I see that you guys are joining the live stream game. How's that all going for you guys?
It's awesome. Well, this is the show that we're doing on the 22nd is going to be the second one that we have done. We pre-recorded a set for the European Metal Festival Alliance, and that was a lot of fun. It was definitely just us hanging out in our jam spot, and this one will be quite a bit more professionally done, a little less DIY. But yeah, so we're excited to get back on the stage again, and hopefully our fans will be excited to see us as well, even though it's only online, not in real life. But that's probably not going to happen for a little while here. So that's, I think, kind of the way things are going to be for a bit. We got a Twitch channel as well that we are hoping to utilize a little bit more this fall. Maybe do some kind of impromptu jam sessions or Q&As, or just kind of hang out over some beers or something like that with the fans and keep our stream alive.
And have you been adjusting to this, I guess, new, hopefully temporary way of life as an artist?
I mean, no, but, you do the best that you can. Definitely much rather be out on the road, that's for sure, but not when it's putting people's lives at risk, of course. So we're going to do our best to try and stay top of mind, stay in front of our fans, be accessible, and just kind of innovate with the way things are now. Venues are probably going to be the last thing to open, unfortunately, because they are known for people crowding into a tight place and not standing very far apart from one another, especially metal shows. So it's gonna be a while, I think, for us. So that's just kind of take it day by day and do the best we can.
For sure. Well, doing the live stream is definitely a step in the right direction, and I see a lot of artists kind of adjusting to Twitch and kind of being more engaged with their fans in that sense, doing the whole let's hang out, have a beer, and just chill type thing. So I guess it's the best of what we got for now, but at least still something, right? At least we still, have artists we love putting music out and, being as top of mind as you say. And I was listening to the new record just before this call here, as I've been doing, pretty much all weekend. And the last song that played just before I got on this call was Soulbound, which, right from that intro draws me in. It's a super killer track. And, as a lot of people who are familiar with my articles know, I'm a guy who likes to really dive into the stories of songs and stories of records. And I know Abyss, as a record, has quite the story. So to get things started, I'd love to know what Soulbound is about lyrically and how it fits into this entire story of Abyss.
Sure, yeah. So Soulbound is about the 4 sons of the matriarch, who is our villain. And in Apex, which is kind of the prequel story, I guess you could say, the story is in 2 parts over 2 records. So Abyss is the second half of that. In Apex, the matriarch had her 4 sons killed in a ritual so she could be immortal. And we didn't know what happened to the sons after that. It was just kind of the drama between our 2 main characters, the matriarch and our hero, the immortal. So this song is actually the reintroduction of those boys, but now they are no longer alive. They are sort of half dead, half alive, living in this life kind of between the 2 existences, and they are what I'm calling soulbound. So they are bound to the matriarch and must do as she tells them, whereas in life they were kind of just, maybe they would do what she asked if she asked nicely, kind of a thing. So now they are her servants through and through. And that's just kind of the reintroduction of those 4 characters. So the whole story is basically just revolving around the matriarch and the immortal. The immortal is cursed to serve whoever awakens him. And so in Apex, he was awakened by the matriarch, and she asked him, go find my sons and bring them to me so I can, do this ritual and become immortal. And of course, he had to obey. And then at the end of it all, she betrayed him and said, I was going to set you free, but I've decided I don't want to anymore. And she sent him back to sleep for a little while. And then in Abyss, he wakes up and the matriarch is nowhere to be seen, and he has a new master. So kind of a fun little twist there.
When you had written Apex, did you plan to write a sequel to it? Was Abyss already kind of an idea going through your mind, or did it kind of just happen naturally? Like, what was the whole story on the continuation of the story?
Yep, I wrote them both at the same time. We knew right from the beginning that it was going to be two albums. Initially, we were actually thinking that it would be like a 2-disc set kind of thing, and we were going to do a whole thing around that. But then, deadlines were fast approaching, and we didn't want to rush anything. So we decided just to focus on Apex, and we released Apex back in 2017. And then in 2019, we sat down and started focusing on Abyss. And there were a few riffs and things that we had left over from when we were writing Apex, but for the most part, Abyss was, really written in 2019. The story changed a little bit as well, even though I had the underlying foundation for the whole thing when we initially started writing in 2016. It changed a bit here and there, and, riffs had some sort of impact on it as well. As I heard things from Andrew during the writing process, I was like, ooh, you know what, actually, that sounds like this should happen here, and that kind of thing. But for the most part, yep, it was all written beforehand.
What I find interesting about what you just said is the fact that you had the stories written before, as just stories. What was kind of the process of taking stories that were written as stories and kind of translating them into lyrical form?
So basically, I wrote a track-by-track guideline for the boys. So it was it listed it out from tracks 1 to 10, aka chapters 1 to 10, and then in those in that guideline, I would explain what was happening in the story for that track, how I wanted the listener to feel, and what I wanted the song to sound like, and then any artists or particular songs or records that I wanted to kind of influence the sound. So, like, for example, Awakening, I would say, chapter 1, it's going to be called Awakening. I knew right from the get-go it was going to be called Awakening. And I was like, basically, the immortal is waking up. He is super excited to be awake again, but he's also kind of, sad that he's still forced to serve in the way he has been for, thousands of years. So this song needs to be uplifting, but there also needs to be an underlying sense of foreboding, and I'd like it to be super fast and, kind of a bit of more of a power metal-y vibe and that kind of thing. And I just did that for every single song. And then the boys would take the guideline, write the riff, bring it back to me and say, does this sound right? Is this, I was thinking of this for this track, and then I'd be like, yes or no, or, you know what, actually, that probably sounds better for this song. Like, let's move that over here. Or I'd say, you know what, it's cool, but why don't we change this a little bit, or, that kind of thing. And Apex was written by both Grant and Andrew, so they both had some riff writing ideas on that one. But Abyss, it was all Andrew. He basically just took the guideline and hid away in his apartment for 3 months and just, wrote everything. It was awesome. It was pretty incredible.
Well, it's almost like, because you say the matriarch has 2 or 3 or 4 people, it's almost like you're the matriarch of your band in a way when you kind of describe it like that, which is kind of funny.
No, I am definitely not a power-hungry, evil sorceress.
But that actually brings me to an interesting point about this immortal character. When I think of the word immortal, I think personally like godlike, invincible, powerful, but this immortal character, kind of has a hold on him, if you will, and, a power over him. And what I thought was really interesting was taking this seemingly almighty being and humanizing them in a way that could kind of bring him to our levels a little bit deeper. Can you talk about maybe some of the humanistic elements or experiences that this character faces within this imaginary world that you created?
Yeah, no, I mean, basically you got it pretty bang on. There's not much of a story to tell if the guy is perfect. So the immortality, though it is something that can be used to his advantage, it is also basically a shackle that has kept him chained to this fate of serving other people his whole life. And it's kind of gone to the point where he even accepts it as the only way things can ever go. And so when I initially was writing it, I knew that I wanted to have an extremely powerful sorceress as the villain, and then this tragic hero kind of going up against her. But if he's so powerful, how come he doesn't just destroy her? And it's obviously because, he's cursed to serve. So that definitely does bring him down to this human level. And then once the matriarch obtains immortality at the end of Apex, it's kind of like that's the last of it. She's like, okay, I'm perfect now. I am unbeatable. But then the immortal is stolen out from under her and is no longer bound to her, basically, to serve her. And so we get to see the immortal at its true strength. But because of all these years of feeling like he's just a tool or a weapon, or, he doesn't have his own path to walk, he's kind of crippled by his own self-doubt, which I think every single one of us is at one point or another. And so the whole story really just kind of covers that inhibition that we all feel and these expectations of others that we feel like we have to meet and we're never good enough. But then all of a sudden it's just kind of about realizing that you do have the strength within you to break free from whatever society thinks you should be doing or supposed to be doing, or, that kind of thing. And just like the immortal, you can turn and face your fears and conquer the day.
Yeah, that's great. And that, is definitely an important message nowadays, especially right now when, so many people feel like, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to take control of their lives. They're under, the thumb of some greater power, whether it be, a pandemic or their boss or just somebody taking control over who they are. And it's great to kind of hear that, you can break through of that. I'm just kind of curious, what really attracted you to wanting to write this specific story? Why this character? Why this world? And why this message right here, right now?
Well, a large part of it, honestly, is social media. And I have so many friends that have told me about the pressure that they feel because of it. You watch people having these, whatever, incredible lives. I don't know, they own boats or they have 15 perfect kids or whatever it could possibly be that you feel you don't have. And we take that and we feel lesser for it when it's really what we should be doing is is just, saying, hey, you know what, awesome, good for you, way to go, and focusing on ourselves. And it's honestly been my opinion that no other opinion but yours matters at the end of the day. It's whatever you think they think of you or whatever you think of them, that doesn't matter. If you are happy with who you are and what you're doing, then that's it. That's happiness right there. And if you are not happy with that, then you need to work to change it, because no one else can do that for you. And in Abyss, the immortal realizes that. He says, you know what, I'm this is happening to me because I'm letting it happen to me. I think that I'm cursed to serve, when really, like, the only person that can break the curse is me. And so it's just kind of, I don't know, I just feel so, I mean, I can't say that I don't feel those pressures, because I definitely do, but I see it more in people around me, and constantly, things like professional sports, professional athletes feeling this insane pressure to be perfect because everyone is watching all the time. And it's just like, we need to stop doing that to each other. Just stop. We're all human. We all have issues and things that are weaknesses and things that are strengths. And just stop judging each other so hard. And, I think the whole world would be better for it, especially right now when the whole thing's going to pot, basically. So, yeah. I don't know.
No, you bring up a lot of good points, and I'm curious to see what you think about, because, it's true, like, everybody, in some form or the other see something that somebody else has, even if it's just, I could post a photo of me holding $1,000 cash in my hand and smiling and saying, look how rich I am. But that might not necessarily be my real $1,000, but to create that illusion that so many of these influencers and whatever create to, build their follower count or whatever. So how do we, especially now when a lot of people are kind of getting, even myself, I'm finding myself kind of sucked deeper into my phone as there's not as much to do. I'm kind of stuck in the house all the time. How do we kind of break free of that when it's become so intertwined? It's almost like, our phone is an external limb of ours now at this point. Yeah,
it is difficult. Whenever you're waiting in line or you're just hanging out, doing something on the bus, whatever, that's the first thing we instinctively do. And instead, maybe we should be the only ones standing there, staring up at the sky, or watching people on the street, or just, listening to an awesome album with no, nothing else to distract you, kind of a thing. And just try and kind of pick one thing and focus on that, and it's really weird when you are, like, a lot of times, and this is just seriously out of sheer laziness, I keep my phone in my little backpack. And so I'm just kind of like, too lazy to get my phone out. So, like, when I'm standing there waiting in line for something, often I am the only person without my phone in my hand. And so it's just kind of weird, being so aware of the world around you when everyone else, is, facing the phone, kind of a thing. And sometimes it's really nice, and you just kind of feel the wind on your face, and you're just like, I'm so freaking lucky that I exist, because it is seriously pure chance that this exact collection of cells and molecules happens to exist right here, right now, in this moment, and it is me, So I just, kind of got to be present, and if you need to escape, then just listen to Abyss.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's very true. I even find myself sometimes when I'm on the SkyTrain, for example, and I'm just sitting there looking around, it's like, here's a group of like 30 people with their own individual stories or individual lives that are all collected in this little batch of people for this, half an hour on the SkyTrain together, and you might never see them again. And that's like 30, collection of experiences that are in that train with you. And instead of, maybe saying hi to somebody and sharing the fact that we live together and we're here right now and we may never see each other again, we're out looking at people we will never meet in real life, being sad that they have a nice car,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, being an artist, it feels like social media is kind of the way to promote yourself. So it's almost like a double-edged sword in a way, because so many people, at least artists nowadays, are relying on that as a way of promotion and getting in touch with their fans and that kind of thing. So, kind of seeing that flip side of the coin, what's your kind of thought from the artist, fan engagement perspective?
Well, I mean, I definitely am going to be the first to admit that I suck at social media. I do not post enough. I do not do, stories enough or any of that stuff. And it's just because I really kind of just go about my day and I'm not on there too often. So I'm not the kind of person that's like, hey, I bought a hot dog, or hey, look, I'm getting on the bus, or ooh, selfie before I go to the gym. I'm just not that kind of person, and there's anything wrong with that. Absolutely be that kind of person. I'm just not that kind of person, which really, doesn't go well when you're trying to promote a brand that is an artist, a musician or whatever, that kind of thing. So, but on the other hand, I've started Twitch streaming and I love it. I think it's so much fun. I get to play video games, which I really enjoy, but I get to do it with my fans, hanging out there and asking questions and, telling me the secrets when I can't figure out what I'm doing. And it's just my favorite thing so far. And it is definitely the thing that's gotten me through the pandemic, because I still get to engage with everyone, but on my terms. And I'm not, I've had sometimes months in between posts, and then when I finally put up a picture, people are like, oh, there she is. And it's I don't owe you a photo every day, and I get that you want to see what's going on with me, and I'm totally cool with that. I am just a normal person, and I want you to see that just as much as I want you to experience and listen to our music. So I totally get it, but it's just kind of, it's really, it's asking a lot of you sometimes, I guess you could say. But that being said, I'm totally loving Twitch. So as soon as all this album release hoo-ha is over, I can get back on there and have some time to actually play some video games. So,
what games are you playing right now, or were you last playing?
I'm in the middle of The Last of Us. So when the second one came out, I was like, oh, well, guess I better play the first one before I can play the second one. So, but there's a long list. I got Horizon Zero Dawn I need to play. I got Outer Worlds. I got, everyone keeps telling me I need to play Assassin's Creed. And so I might play, the last one, or I might wait for the new one, the Valhalla Viking one. I'm not too sure yet. Apparently Ghost of Tsushima is amazing, so I got that on my list. It's just never ending. You can play video games all day long for the rest of your life if you want.
I know. I actually just started playing God of War, which kind of fits well with the whole Abyss vibe and the whole mythological, fantastical worlds created. So that's kind of fun that those worlds kind of collide at the same time.
That one's on my list too, for sure.
Oh, you got it. It's actually super good. But back to the record, I am personally a big believer that when you create something, a little part of you is part of it. A little shred of your being, as it were, is kind of placed in this piece. Whatever it is you make, whether it's, a painting or a song or a story or a character or whatever. And I'm curious, in this fantastical world that you've created in Abyss as well as Apex, how much of Brittney Slays is in this immortal character, and how much of your personal experience is metaphorically put into the story?
I mean, I guess probably quite a bit. The whole write what you know thing is true. No, I'm not the matriarch, as so many people say, but I feel, I definitely feel like I put a little bit of myself into the immortal, because I'm constantly I don't know, it's weird. I honestly I can't explain it, but I just really am good at kind of not caring about when people are assholes to me. And I feel like the immortal is the same, in that he is just kind of, I'm going to do what I do. And if you don't like it, that's too bad. Not a big deal. And that's really kind of how I feel as a person. And I try and constantly instill that in my friends and people around me who, exactly like that. They feel bad about themselves because of something they saw on social media, or because, someone at work got a promotion or whatever, and I just kind of say, you can't take that shit personally, man. It's not about you. You got to worry about you. You got to put yourself first, and you got to love yourself. Seriously, love who you are as a human being, and nothing else in the world will matter. And I just really feel like that's kind of where the whole immortal character grew from. And he's been at it so long, he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You know, get out of here. You guys are annoying me, kind of a thing. And he just goes on his merry way, doing what he does. But there's also that self-doubt there. Of course, I have that all the time. So he's just kind of, reflecting of the best parts and the worst parts, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing to say that because, I definitely agree that, writing what you know and putting yourself into the shoes of or getting people to understand where you're coming from, I guess, is a different way to put it, is a great way to try and connect people through your songwriting. Would you say there are any songs on the album that hold a little bit of a extra special place in your heart on this album?
For sure. I love The Wind That Shapes the Land. That song was the last song that we wrote. It was the hardest one for lyrics because there was just so much that needed to be told. But I didn't want to say it like super explicitly or literally. I still wanted it to be able to be taken in such a way that, can mean something different for everyone. But, had a whole battle to reenact basically. So it was very difficult. But at the end of the day, it ended up being one of my favorite performances and one of the favorite, tracks that we wrote. And it's really funny because we've all kind of come to that agreement that it's really fun to play. We've been jamming it in preparation for the stream, so it's a lot of fun, and you just kind of get lost in it. And I think that's probably number one on the record for me right now. I don't know, that might change.
That's definitely one of my favorite songs on the record too. And one thing I wanted to point out was the evolution of you guys have definitely they were apparent on Apex, but now they've gotten like really apparent on Abyss here with the addition of all these elements, and there was there's just so much to take in, which I thought was really cool and really amazing. How would you describe the evolution as a band, kind of as you grow, as you mature as a band and mature as songwriters, I guess, after being together for this long?
Well, I mean, we're all much older now, so just with time, and with maturity comes better songwriting skills. But we're also influenced by different bands, and we listen to different music now than we did way back in the day. So, for sure, influence-wise, we're in a completely different place than we were. Even with Apex, it was, we were listening to very different bands then. You're always going to have the Queensryche and the Iron Maiden kind of influences. Like Apex, I would say it was kind of a bit of a Soilwork inspiration, and on this one we got a bit of a Flesh God inspiration, but there's a lot of different, other stuff on Abyss than we've ever had before. Some black metal influences and a lot of pop and synthwave and symphonic stuff, folk metal, that kind of thing. So we definitely just are, our influences have changed, and also the member changes have really made kind of a big deal as well, because our principal songwriter, who we had up till 2013, was very much a death metal fan and a kind of, I guess you could say, deathcore, metalcore kind of fan. And then when Andrew joined the band, we turned into, towards more of a traditional metal or heavy metal direction. So we just kind of embraced that power side of things. So that probably had a lot to do with it as well. But you just get older, you get better. The more you do it, the better you are at it, the better at the studio, the better at everything. It just takes time and practice.
Sweet. I see we're kind of winding down to the end here, so I'll squeeze in one more quick question for you here, Brittney. You really had your turning point in more like within recent years. So you were grinding it for like 10 or so years maybe before, you started getting, at least, and I could be wrong about this, but, what I felt, and I think I've seen you say this in interviews, was the turning point for the band was really when you released Apex. What would you say, considering you're now finally seeing the fruits of your labor pay off, you have huge numbers on Spotify, a lot of popularity out in Europe and some of the Scandinavian countries. Do you have any advice for newer bands in just, in general as a metal band in today's demographic and kind of, becoming or going on the uphill now?
No, you're definitely right. A lot of changes have happened in the last few years here. I think a lot of it is come down to just writing a really accessible record in Apex. We kind of hit our stride a bit songwriting-wise and style-wise. I mean, we're always going to be genre benders, but we're kind of figuring out that people want catchy melodies that get stuck in your head, so we're just going to keep doing that. And basically, it takes time. You got to plug away at it. You got to keep going. And nothing happens overnight. Even though people say overnight success, that's not a thing. The only difference is that all of a sudden people discover you one night, basically, and it's not like you weren't there before. So for those that are trying to get into the game, keep at it. Just keep at it. Don't give up. And eventually, something will go your way. And do your best to put yourself out there in the highest quality ways as possible. The best record that you can put out, the best recording quality, the best merch, the best music videos, the best everything. Don't sell yourself short, and don't cheap out. And I guess on the other hand, that's save your money is a really big one, because this is an expensive industry, and all those things cost a lot of money. So save it up, and don't be afraid to spend it, because it will definitely be worth it, and it'll come back to you. But number one, most important, is just be loyal to your fans, man, because they're loyal to you. And as long as you treat them like they're the one thing that matters, because they are, because without them, you got nothing, then they'll always be there for you when you need them. Like how when we came back from that tour that got destroyed by the pandemic and we were thousands of dollars in debt, our fans were there for us and they helped us. So, they're always going to be there, whether you're a huge band or you're a tiny band. You got to make sure that you treat them like, that they're the most important thing on the planet, because they are.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that in-depth answer there. That's amazing to hear. Do you have any final thoughts, Brittney, before we call it a day on this call here?
Just, if you can, listen to Apex beginning to end. Don't,
yes.
Do the singles or whatever, but if you can, put your headphones on and take an hour and really give it a good once through, because that's how we wrote it. That's how we meant it to be heard, if you can. And also come hang out with us on Twitch.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Brittney, for taking the call today. And, thanks again for giving me your time and having a little chat with me. It was awesome to talk to you. Congratulations on the new record. I'm stoked to see how people react to it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That was Brittney Slays from Unleash the Archers here on the Rekt Chords Podcast, presented by Rekt Chords Magazine. If you like this podcast and want to hear more, feel free to slay that subscribe button, leave a review, and hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to visit us at rektchords.com. Thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you again next time. Peace out.